I was playing in Miami for years for free. And I was like the promoter DJ because every time that I would play, I would bring so many people and sell so many tickets. And that's how I would get my shows.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would probably get like $200, $300 a DJ, you know?
Ever wonder how top DJs actually built their careers?
I had to do 15 years of hard work to get any of the recognition that I wanted.
Where I saw a turning point in my career is when I became true to myself.
From marketing and mindset to networking and negotiation, I'm giving you the tools you need to build a lasting career in dance music.
Give them bits of you and your everyday life.
You have to change the way you view the word no. Like me, I'm encouraged by it.
Join me, Olivia Mancuso, and industry leaders as we reveal what it really takes to turn your passion into profit. This is Elevated Frequencies. Welcome to your weekly elevation, your dose of real strategies for real results in dance music. I'm Olivia, and today we are talking with Malone, who just made one of the boldest moves in dance music, quitting his corporate job right before Miami Music Week this year to go all in on music. With a wife and daughter depending on him, most people might call that insane, but sometimes the biggest risks lead to the biggest rewards. And since making that leap, Malone has been touring Europe all summer, expanding his WHYNOTUS label globally, and proving that when you bet on yourself completely, the universe tends to respond. We're diving into the real talk about making that transition, building a label that puts artists first, and why Miami's house scene is unlike anywhere else in the world. I remember seeing something right before Music Week, and it was this big announcement that you quit your day job.
Oh, yeah.
So what's been the weirdest thing about like not having a boss these past, 6 or 7 months?
Yeah, for me, it's just kind of like having all this free time, you know, and just like during the day, because I was always, you know, working during the day, and then just kind of like taking off that hat and then putting on like my music hat, like my, you know, producer hat, like, you know, writing, making music at night. And now that I have so much free time during the week, I'm kind of like a stay at home dad.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. But now that the baby's getting bigger and stuff, just going to school, but it's been amazing. It's been really cool, just to be able to be, you know, like 100% fully, you know, immersed and into music, you know, and not have to worry about anything else. Because, you know, I had my energy spread very, very thin, you know, across multiple different things, you know, full-time work, career, music, touring, family, dad, husband. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I mean, and we'll get into it, especially being a space resident. I mean, that's not like having a residency anywhere else where it's slightly more normal hours for a club. I mean, that's a late spot. So was that Miami Music Week extra celebratory for you? Did it just feel like weird knowing that once the week was over, you didn't have to go back?
Yeah, it was definitely, it was a lot more enjoyable for sure. Because I remember always having to, you know, request the days off and like even sometimes like lie about different things. Like it would be Wednesday and I would be at the Surf Comber like at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
like I'd be playing at like, you know, usually like back then, because I was, you know, opening a lot earlier back then, I would be playing like a 3 p.m. set at the pool parties in the beach, and I would be getting like a bunch of emails, and my managers would be calling me like, hey, what did you do today? Like, you know, and I had to like completely lie and stuff like that. So, you know, not having to worry about that anymore and just be completely like, you know, just focused and having all my energy towards, you know, music and just the vibe of Music Week and being able to really network and, you know, bounce around and not have to worry about anything. It felt a lot. It was, this past Music Week was my favorite Music Week that I've ever had, you know.
Yeah. And I was there at your set at the Ground, and it felt so celebratory, and it really did feel like a party back there, up on stage. So you wore all these hats for so long, and I want to talk about like what you're doing now, but something that like I don't want to glaze over because it's important. The majority of people who listen to the show are other artists who are looking to learn from people like yourself. So when did you know it was okay and safe to like make that transition, especially having a family? When were you like, I can do this full time?
Well, first off, I want to say, you know, thank you for having me. I really, really love, you know, what you're doing. I find myself sometimes, you know, watching the things that you talk about and be like, damn, like I either really needed to hear that, or it's like, it's so true. You know, you're kind of speaking a lot of things that are real, because in an industry where a lot of things are very fake, unfortunately. So, you know, being a little bit of of a person that comes from a little more of like an old school background, I really appreciate, what you're doing. But for me, that moment was, obviously having a family and living in Miami, which is very expensive. I like to live a very nice lifestyle as well. So managing all that, and then just from a financial standpoint, to the point that I was comfortable from touring, that I was able to make the decision that I could, do that, really 100% full time, support my family, all my expenses, life, whatever that case may be. I mean, I actually, I took it to the edge. I could have probably quit like a year or two ago, but I was very comfortable. My job was very flexible, and I was able to work from home a lot. I was in sales, outside sales and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it got to the point that I felt kind of burnt out, to be honest with you, between work, touring, everything else, life, whatever. I really started to feel like burnt out, and I wanted to, more than anything, just take this to the next level. Because, obviously being a touring DJ, and especially, more like in the underground scene that I'm in, there's a lot of like levels to, to the game, right? Anybody could be a really dope local act. You work hard, you network, people like you, your music is dope, the DJ, you could do your thing in local. But actually, touring full time and becoming, a hard ticket selling act in different markets and stuff like that, which is very difficult to do and become. I feel like, I've been doing this for almost 10 years. A lot of people don't really, people see kind of what's happening now and be like, whatever. But I've been doing this for a long time. Like I was playing in Miami for years for free. And I was like the promoter DJ, because every time that I would play, I would bring so many people and sell so many tickets. And that's how I would get my shows.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would probably get like $200, $300 to DJ, So yeah, it sucked. It's crazy now that I look back, but like, when you put in so much time, and so many years, and I've kind of seen it all, being from Miami also, it's a very huge blessing. And it's helped me and shaped me as an artist. Like I can't even imagine, because, I've had so many different experiences and learning experiences being from a city like Miami. But yeah, once I realized, I think it was just more of like a financial thing. Once I saw, once the offers were getting, bigger and bigger, the opportunities were getting bigger and bigger. I was able to move to Ibiza this summer and be in Europe for 2.5 months. I played like 24 shows or something like that in 2.5 months, all around the world,
Wow.
Ibiza, all around Spain, Barcelona, Madrid. I did Saint-Tropez. I did Istanbul for the first time. I played at Fabric London for the first time, which was insane.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of cool things happening. And I feel like a lot of those things, once I made the decision to finally quit my job and just dedicate to like 100% to music, kind of like this energy just kind of shifted. And, ever since then, things have been like, I wouldn't say like skyrocketing, but, we're definitely seeing a lot of nice momentum right now with everything. And, it's great. It's great to see.
Yeah. When you can put 100% of your focus into something, it's crazy all the doors that start opening up for you. And I love that your background is like just old school, hard work, the promoter DJ, bringing in a bunch of people. That's not an easy task to get people together. Like
it's kind of awkward too. Be like, hey, can you please buy a ticket to my party or to my show or whatever? But
it builds character.
People in Miami love to party. If you throw a good party, and people have a good time at your parties, I feel like it's a lot easier.
For sure.
And if you come from a good place and people know you for a long time, it's not like you're just like a random promoter that's just blowing people up, You're kind of coming from a good, authentic place, and people see, the amount of time and effort and, sweat that you've put into something. So I think sometimes people are like happy to help out and happy to do it, so.
100%.
Besides, we've done an amazing job of curating some pretty sick parties and lineups so far for WHYNOTUS, which is, something I'm really proud of.
Yeah. And I want to get into that too. But I was looking at looking at some previous interviews that you did like 2020, 2021. I think you were talking about like, I'm doing this without a manager, without an agent. And like, obviously that's changed.
I know. That was crazy.
So how did that happen for you? So Paul is your manager.
So Paul's my manager.
Who's been on this show before and who's fantastic and such an inspiration.
He's a legend, yeah.
How did that happen?
So I've actually known Paul for a very long time. Just from being in Miami and just being in the scene or whatnot. And obviously knowing that he's just a very successful person and very well-respected person, individual. in the scene. And I really didn't have a manager, and I was just kind of like doing my own thing. It's funny because I actually signed to William Morris. I signed to WME, which was like insane for me. Probably one of the best agencies in the world before I even had a manager, which is crazy. Usually the other way around. So, we actually, hung out plenty of times, and he had even seen me DJ plenty of times, and we never even spoke about anything about just, him being my manager. It just kind of like happened like very organically. And, I'm obviously, I'm a very like vibrant person. I go a lot with, my gut, with my feeling, and just kind of like the vibes that I feel with people. And, it felt great. Obviously, I have a ton of respect for him, and he's very, very knowledgeable. He's kind of like more of like my psychiatrist more than my manager. But
he's so inspirational. The content, stuff that he posts, and he lives like I feel like he's not the guy that's going to ask you to do something he wouldn't do himself.
No, 100%. No, he understands what I want, what I'm looking for, what I want to accomplish, and the vibe that I'm in, the lane that I'm in, and what I'm trying to do. So it's great. It's a very, very great relationship. I love working with him, and. I switch agencies now. I'm with Liaison with Andrew with Liaison, which is the owner of Liaison. It's like one of the most legendary agents in the United States. Amazing dude. And ever since we made that switch and made that move, everything's just kind of been feeling, like we're just going in the right direction. And momentum just, continuing to build. But, like anything, it's just a lot of hard work, A lot of people don't really see the time and effort and the work.
10 years is a long time technically, but look what you've been able to accomplish in that time. A couple years ago, you're saying, I don't have a manager, an agent, I'm just like mobbing this out by myself. And now look where you are. So why not us? It's a label, it's an event series. Talk to me about the fruition of it. Like what's the ethos behind Why Not Us?
So Why Not Us was, it actually started as just like a party that I started doing a long time ago, before even COVID. I did a couple parties called, then I just called them Why Not Us. And it was just more of a kind of like a, just the mentality, like, like, hey, if this person is doing it, if this person can accomplish it, if whoever can do it, why can't you do it? Like, why can't we do it? We're the same. We're just as talented. You can do anything that anybody else can do. And it applies to all things in life, not only music. So it's just kind of like a name that just stuck with me. And then I kind of put that to the side. COVID happened, and then I got together with my good friends Calusa, and I actually started another label that was called Hurry Up Slowly.
Love that. I love them.
Then that was an amazing time, and that was more back in the day, like 4 or 5 couple years ago, when we were doing more Afro House. Back then, when Afro House wasn't as big and as it is now, it was a little bit more of like an Afro tech, Afro groove vibe that we had going on. We quickly built Hurry Up Slowly to become like the second biggest selling Afro House label in the world, like within a year. And we were doing insane parties. That was really like kind of like what drew the attention to the brand. Like some of the most insane parties like that I've ever seen for a small company, right? And then that kind of like ran its course. And then I just kind of had like this like, crossroads that I just kind of wanted to like do my own thing and just kind of like branch out and just like kind of really find myself as an artist, what my identity was as an artist. Because, being in this for so long, as the longer you're in this game, the trends that you see come and go, things change. Like, like the artists that have been around for a very long time, they've changed, in many different ways, whether it's brands, music, genres, whatever the case may be. So, I kind of had like that moment that I kind of just wanted to find myself and do something different. And then I started thinking about, I was like, I really want to start my own label again and, start doing parties again, and it just be mine, just be my thing, my curation, my vision. And yeah, it took me like 3-4 months to figure out the name that I wanted to do. And then, Why Not Us was just always there. And I was like, damn, I'm just going to just bring it back, And it's been great. The response has been amazing. I think a lot of people relate to it. A lot of people are, we're seeing a lot of people that, really love, not only the parties and stuff like that, but what we're doing with the label, the artists, the music that we're signing. For me, it's always been about putting other people on. I've always loved the idea and the ability to sign music of much younger artists, people that you've never heard of from different parts of the world, bunch of kids from South America that send me the most insane music every single day. And it's crazy because a lot of these big artists, like, some of my favorite artists, Marco Carolla, Dennis Cruz, like the Martinez brothers, a majority of the music that they're playing is from people that nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like kids that have less than 5,000 monthly listeners on Spotify.
You know what's crazy? Having you on this show now, and Miss Mata and Slug, you guys have all said very similar things.
Yeah.
That you're always looking. So, and I think that's just something special about the Miami market in general. And
Yeah.
you guys kind of all share those same values of finding, because you have this reputation for being selectors too, right?
Yeah.
Like that's why people come to you, and you know you're going to get that very unique, it's not a cookie cutter experience in Miami. And, that's just really cool because I feel like you guys probably you're all friends. I'm assuming you know each other.
Of course, I love those.
I feel like it kind of like challenges each of you to even find even better music. And I
Yeah,
mean, like you're just
for
like
sure.
all like you're all just like encouraging each other to be better.
I mean, the vision I've always had for WHYNOTUS is to sign really dope music, throw really dope parties, and then also be able to, let's say if I'm having a WHYNOTUS showcase in Colombia and being able to, book those kids that the random 2 or 3 people that I sign music from Colombia and then put them on the showcase,
Yeah.
And the same thing, like the one we did in Ibiza, and then hopefully we're going to be doing, WHYNOTUS showcases all around the world. We have a lot of things lined up for that, but that's just kind of was just my idea. But more than anything, one of the main reasons why I started the label was because I was tired of, labels rejecting my music. Because, I'm not saying I'm the best producer in the world. I'm not saying my music is the best in the world, but I know my music is good enough to land on some of these labels that were saying no. I see the music that everyone's putting out. I study the industry. I study the game more than anything. And WHYNOTUS for me was just an opportunity for me to just put out my music whenever I wanted to, with whoever I wanted to, however I wanted to, market it myself, and just have full control of that whole thing. Besides, being able to put other people on and do the dope parties. But that was the main thing, I kind of just wanted to have an outlet for myself. Like if I want to just release a track instead of just, it's crazy how many tracks that we just have sitting there that just disappear and never see the light of day. And I just, I didn't like that. I just, I feel like if we spend the time writing music, creating music, I feel like you should share your art with the world, even if it's not a song that's going to stream millions of streams, or it's not a song that's going to blow up, it's its own thing. You should give it its own space.
Yeah, it's important to create art for the sake of creating art. And I saw someone say, because when I was first starting this podcast, I was like, fuck, no one's going to listen for like the first 50 episodes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the reality of it. But this girl I saw on TikTok was like, create just to have a proof of concept, just to show, like, prove to yourself that you can create a library of work. And I think that's so important to any type of creative, because it can sit in your head. You can have all these ideas in your head all day long, but if you don't put it out into the ether, there's no proof of concept. I'm curious because I've had a lot of artists on the show that have started their own labels, which I think is such an amazing and empowering thing. You said that you were tired of labels not putting your music out. What do you think the reason is for all of these delays?
Yeah, I think, a lot of labels, they have different people running the labels. They're looking for different things at different times. Like I said earlier about how genres and sounds come and go, there's always a trend in music that comes, that's hot, and, they want a specific type of sound. Or they're looking for a specific type of artist, whether it's an artist that makes really good content, an artist that's very strong on TikTok, which is a huge thing that I kind of don't want to get into.
Get into it.
Like
Come on. This is a spot to get into
I'm going to
it.
sound like an old head.
Yeah.
No, TikTok is great. TikTok is great.
It's not.
TikTok is great. No, it is. It's broken a lot of people's careers. It's amazing. It's an amazing tool if you know how to use it.
Yes.
And you gotta want to use it. But anyways, yeah. So I think just different labels. There's so many labels, right? There's so many cool labels. There's so many dope labels. I just think the beautiful thing about underground house music and the lane that we're in is that, within that sound, there's so many sounds, right? There's so many different styles. Like you tell somebody minimal, and somebody might think minimal is 3 different things, right?
It's so hard. I don't even like to say genre because I get scared. I'm like, fuck.
I hate talking about genre because me personally as a DJ, I like to navigate through a bunch of different sounds, and I think a certain track might have this type of characteristic and personality, but it might just land within this genre. But I think it's just all about being an artist and being a DJ, knowing your music and knowing, the proper way of mixing and reading a room and stuff like that. But back to the question about the labels, I wouldn't say they were all rejecting my music. I have signed a lot of really great music with some really great labels. But, some of the labels that I was really pushing to kind of be on, I feel like sometimes as an artist, when you try to force something or you really want something that bad, it doesn't come. And sometimes when you're least expecting it, that's when it comes. So yeah, with the music, it's crazy because you can have this amazing song and you sign it to the label that you want, but you can't release it for 9 months, right?
Yeah,
And then by the time the song comes out, either you're tired of it, or that sound or that vibe is not really like hot anymore or not really cool anymore. So it's a very tricky, it's a really tricky thing to manage as an up and coming artist, right? As an artist that's not as big as a massive headliner that could pretty much do whatever they want whenever they want, basically,
Right. No, you're relying on that track to come out.
Yeah.
I've heard so many. Parker Cohen and Leighton Jordani just talked about this.
Yeah.
This has been a talking point every other episode. I wonder if there will be any change enacted with that. I get that where it doesn't make sense to me is if you're waiting 9 months to put a track out, but the label isn't putting a budget behind it, they're not doing any sort of special campaign, whatever. It's just like sitting there. Now, if you're doing something strategically, I still think 9 months is fucking insane. That's way too long. But unless the label is doing something very strategically and it's not just going through an assembly line of other artists, it's like, how can that change? There's got to be, if enough people are complaining about it, it needs to change.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say. I also think that there's just so many artists, right? I feel like, there's so many DJs now, and a lot of people want to be DJs, and there's so many, young kids that are super talented and that are amazing. And I'm sure a lot of these labels are being flooded with thousands and thousands of demos a day, which is, I mean, me and myself for WHYNOTUS, I can't even keep track of the demos that I'm getting, which I need to do a good job of. I'm sorry, guys. A better job
You're
of.
just one person.
Yeah. But I'm starting to build a little team, within the label to handle these things a little bit better. But I mean, I think a lot of these big labels, massive brands, a lot of artists sometimes are sending music to a specific label because they want to potentially, play one of those parties. Because a lot of these labels, have the party side of things, But there are a lot of labels that don't have the party side of things too, that are just strictly, amazing labels that do a really good job of putting out music and pushing the artists and supporting the music. But yeah, I mean, sometimes, I've heard, some stories from some artists that they finally landed their dream label and they've been waiting and they finally got on it. And it was the worst experience they've ever had. And then, some artists that decided to sign music and give a label an opportunity that they didn't think they would have ever signed music with. And it was the best experience they've ever had. So
for sure.
Like I had a release with Watergate, which is this legendary label from Germany, a German label. And it was one of the best. It was like mind-blowing of how incredible of an experience it was to release music with them, right? And I would have never thought that I would have ever released a song with them, But yeah, I mean, I think it's always an evolving thing. It's always I don't think you can put your finger on it. It's just you kind of just have to go with the flow and just kind of adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
Whether it's releasing with this label, not releasing it, put it out yourself. Coming up with a really dope content. I think a lot of people now have become knowledgeable enough that you can self-release music if you do it the right way, if you prepare, if you have a really cool content plan, and if you have some money to put down behind. Because at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Yes.
A lot of things are a lot about money.
100%.
Yeah. Unless you're like a very, very, really, really cool viral, act, a lot of things at the end of the day come down to,
And if it's not money, it's time. Like you spend, learning how to do everything yourself. There's, I think it's also about diversifying, right? It's like self-releasing this track for this reason, focusing on this label for another reason. Like you have to kind of cast a wider net and not put all your eggs in one basket now, because it's just not feasible. And I like what you said about like allowing yourself to be surprised by the process and not gripping so tightly onto wanting. I think it's great to have a goal and to have tunnel vision on a goal, but you can't be so dead set on it that if it doesn't work out, your whole plan just like crumbles.
I think the beautiful thing now about dance music, electronic music, is that we're in a very cool time that I feel like the boundaries have kind of disappeared, in the sense that a lot of artists that you would have never expected to work with this artist are working together.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool because at least myself, as someone that used to do, Afro house, a little bit more of Afro house, and now is doing more of like, like the proper tech house groove sound or whatever the case may be. I think it's a beautiful thing to see. I've never been one to want to have a boundary or just, have a specific genre type of, play. I think everyone's just kind of doing everything now, which is really cool and allows people to be more creative. like for example, like my next release that I have coming up at the end of the month is a more Afro, more melodic type of groovy type of song, but it's a collaboration with Mark Bassi, which is like one of the most talented singer-songwriters in dance music. And you know, my boy Sai sent me this vocal, and I was like, wow, this is amazing, you know. But the first thing that came to my mind was, you know, some piano, some chords, a nice little melody. It wasn't like just like a club type of record, you know. And that's the challenging thing with being an up-and-coming artist, because kind of what I was mentioning to you before, a lot of these kids from Brazil, South America, Europe, wherever, they have the most insane, nasty groove club records ever, right? But they're less than 10,000 streams monthly. So as an artist, if you're trying to grow and you're trying to be known and X part of, you know, wherever the case may be, if that's your goal, to become a fully, you know, touring artist, living off touring, you know, and traveling and playing all these massive shows, your music needs to be seen everywhere. It needs to be widespread. And that's where things get a little bit tricky about, you know, being too commercial, or is it the music too commercial? It's not.
Right.
You know, there's only a few guys that could really, like, you know, navigate that line.
Yeah.
Like trying to like stay really cool and stay underground, but still have music that's kind of like very crossover-ish, you know?
Yeah. That's a question I've been asked, and my business partner in our event, Chicago Music Nexus, which is like similar to, you know, WMC, we get asked, when I first started out, should I just really stick to one genre and just make one genre until people get to know me? So I'm curious what your answer is to that, because like when you're building a brand, I mean, I think there's other things that can be your through line besides genre,
For
right?
sure.
Like it could be a specific kind of drums. It could be how you look. It could be the experiences you curate.
Of course.
But do you think that like sticking to Afro House in the beginning kind of helped you lift off faster?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it's always very important for you to establish some sort of identity as an artist early on, especially, and stick to one thing. You know, one of the biggest things for me was during COVID. I got very close to Blondish, and I was doing her live streams. You know, I was literally playing by myself on my balcony every single week for like a year. You know, one of the things that got me really close to her was one of the records that I made during COVID, which ended up, you know, signing to her label, whatever the case may be. And, you know, at that time, Afro House was, you know, starting to, I mean, Afro House has been around for a while. You know, but I feel like in the last couple of years, it really has exploded, you know? But as an artist, it depends. I feel like if you're in the feeling, if you're in the moment of wanting to write something that just leans a little bit more that way, I think you should feel free to do that, you know? But maybe you don't have to release it. Maybe it's just for you to, you know, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's for your sets or whatnot. You know, you see with a lot of artists in the underground or tech house, whatever, they usually tend to release a lot more, you know, commercial or easy streaming type of music, but their sets are way more underground than what they really are. You know, like the Martinez Brothers, for example.
Totally.
You know, their releases are very housey, very vibey, you know, vocal driven, you know, classic, you know, hits type of records, but their sets are just, you know, really, really, you know, proper and more for the dance floor. So it's just a combination of doing it, but I think there's no right or wrong, you know, answer. As long as you do it with the right intention and you do it for the right reasons, I don't think there's, you know, a right or wrong way to go about it.
Yeah, there is no one formula anymore.
Not anymore. At least not anymore. Before, I think people were more consistent with staying, you know, and trying to stay with one thing. I feel like now, I think people can diversify a little bit. You know, you see, you know, Solomon playing with Dala. You see John Summit playing with this person.
Bass, dubstep,
There's a bunch of things that are happening, you know. Joseph Capriati's residency in Ibiza this year, you know, he had Ben Bomber playing his residency, which I thought was amazing. Ben Bomber is one of my favorite artists in the world. It's all I listen to for the most part.
Yeah.
When I'm just like chilling or you know, hanging out. So yeah, I think, you know, being able to understand what's happening and adapting and, you know, but staying true to yourself in whatever way you decide to go with whatever you're doing, I think is the most important thing.
Would you say that for people who, you know, they don't have the option to move out of the country, would you say that Miami right now is a good place to move if you're trying to level up your career?
Yeah, I think Miami's amazing. It's an amazing hub for house music.
Is there enough opportunities?
I don't think so. There used to be. I don't think there's there's a really good scene in Miami, you know, besides obviously space, you know, there's a bunch of different house parties, a bunch of different crews that are starting to build different parts, and it's actually starting to come back again. So I would say, yeah, I mean, look, I think in any city, any major city, if you are out and about, if you're networking, if you are visible to the community, if you're giving back to the community, you're not just in it to just trying to get something for yourself, you're really participating, you're supporting. I think supporting local artists is one of the most important things that anybody can do as an up-and-coming artist, because you never know who, you might connect with, who you might get close to, that might get their break, and that they might bring you along, and you guys can form your own sort of thing, and you're part of that crew. I feel like now more than ever, there's a lot of crews in dance music, right? There's a lot of groups and people, like, how like the Brazilians are always supporting each other, the guys from the UK are always supporting each other. I wish us Latinos and Hispanics would support each other a little bit more. I think Gordo has spoken about that in the past, and he's been one to like really, put on and put us forward and support us and like really push for like his Hispanic and Latinos, because, I feel like Hispanics and Latin Americans, South Americans make up a majority of, especially in the States, like of the people that are actually attending these parties, the festivals.
Absolutely,
It's a huge demographic. So yeah, I mean, I think supporting each other, especially like, and it doesn't matter whether you're in New York, Miami, LA, any of these, major cities. If you definitely want to get into house music, if you want to be part of the scene, I would say being in one of these cities is very, very important. It's crucial. I think it will be a lot easier. And, going out and supporting your local artists and your local scene, I think is the most important way and the easiest way for you to meet people, get put on, get your opportunity, and then what you do with that opportunity is, it's up to you.
For sure.
Yeah.
I also see a lot of value in if you don't live in a major market, but you just throw your own show, and it doesn't have to be fancy, but you just like, if you can like cut your teeth with some of those entrepreneurial skills, right?
Yeah.
And then you make the move. So at least you've thrown a show before, you kind of know how it works. I find so much value in that. And then also, like, I feel like not enough people give credit to their day jobs and the transferable skills. Like you said, you were in sales.
Yeah.
I'm sure that had a lot to do with you being a really good promoter too, and you figuring out how to like, get people to do things you want them to do.
Yeah, I think understanding the business side of the music game is very important, because the older you get and the more you get into this and the deeper and the bigger you get, you start to realize that it's, it's not as easy. It's a lot of shit that goes on behind the scenes. That's, that you having a good business mindset helps for sure. And to your point, I was just in Charlotte last night. I played in Charlotte for the first time.
I hear that's a great market.
It was amazing. I had never been there.
Yeah.
I was surprised. Like everybody was dancing, they were grooving, they were locked in, every single song. The vibe was amazing. So, and that promoter, he's a Venezuelan guy that lives in Charlotte, which is, super random to begin with. He's built a beautiful thing. He's one of the only people doing house music over there in Charlotte.
What's it called?
Black Cat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think my brother played for. I'm not sure.
The venue is called Music Yard.
Okay.
It's like an open air, pretty cool.
Yeah. I think my brother.
But the promoter's called Black Cat. But it was cool because, touring now in different parts of the country, you obviously, take shows in different places for the first time. And, I had no idea what I was going into.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. It was great.
Yeah.
And I think the person, I was actually watching what the interview you had a couple of weeks ago or whatnot, that this guy, I don't know who his name is, but it seems like he built a community, that's based on just the vibe of his party and what he's built, not the headliner, not the DJ.
Yeah,
like
Blind Tiger.
Yeah, so like
LA,
the parties,
yeah.
I mean, I've never heard of it, but I'm assuming the parties are amazing. Doesn't matter who's DJing.
Yeah, oh my God.
You know?
Every comment, it was like a cult came in. They're like, Blind Tiger forever. I'm like, that's
awesome.
so cool.
That's
like,
amazing. That's
yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, and it just like...
people that build things like that, I mean, the longevity of those type of brands, I'm sure will go on forever.
Yeah.
Which is great because they're not dependent on the artists, selling out the show.
Right.
Which at the end of the day is, there's a lot of pressure on artists, to sell tickets, especially as an up and coming artist.
Totally.
Sometimes we don't take shows because we're worried that we're gonna, not flop or just not sell.
Yeah.
As an up and coming artist, just to go into any room and sell 500-700 tickets, I mean, it's not easy,
It's an amazing feat. And I think I saw your story that's what you did last night, right? It was like a 500 person room.
No, it was like, it's like 350, 400, you know what I mean?
But if everyone's having a good time, it's so much better than thousands of people in a room not dancing or just, you know what I mean? Like standing. I was in LA for the first time actually recently, and I went to a show and nobody was dancing. And I don't know if that's an LA thing, but I was fucking confused.
Yeah, it happens.
In Chicago, people dance.
Yeah, they do.
And you can't generalize entire markets,
Of
but
course.
it was just a really strange thing to see. And I know if I was a DJ, I would mentally not be able to handle that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because sometimes it doesn't matter what you play or what you people are just not dancing for whatever reason, and you question yourself. You were like, am I like the worst DJ in the world? Like, what's happening? But sometimes things happen. And there's some other times that just everyone's just vibing. I feel like obviously people on their phones, attention span, for whatever the case may be. I mean, the industry and people definitely used to dance a lot more. That's for sure.
Yeah, because we didn't have distractions.
Yeah. But it's cool, man. I think, people want to capture the moment. I'm all for that. I think it's all good, just obviously some places are going to be a little bit more, culturally. I mean, LA is amazing. I've been to parties. I mean, the last time I played in LA the party was incredible. Just depends, I guess, it's just maybe you're just unlucky.
I guess so.
play.
So touring in Europe all summer, living in Ibiza, and just touring in general these past couple years, ramping up. What have you learned about yourself as an artist that took you by surprise?
Yeah, I think when you continue to grow and grow and grow, and you have these little wins, and you start thinking to yourself, damn, can I really do this? Like, for real? You kind of get like this new type of energy and self-motivation of like, really wanting to get to the next level. And by next level, I mean like really becoming like a, massive touring act, which I think it's I think it's hard. It's not as easy as people think it is. Obviously, if you have a hit world record, of course, whatever, but like building it little by little, playing the long game, being consistent, staying true to yourself. I think being humble is very, very important. I think a lot of this industry can eat a lot of people up really, really quickly. So I found that I have a lot of self-discipline, a lot of willpower, and I'm just very determined to do it, to make it and continue. Because I feel like anybody could have their moment for a year or two, but I feel like sometimes we don't appreciate enough how incredible some of these guys that have been doing this for 10, 15 years, like the bros, like Marco, like Dennis, Oscar G from Miami, from absolute legends. My mentor and one of my best friends, Edgar V, that pretty much taught me how to DJ, one of the first residents of Space. People that have been doing this for a very long time. It's not an easy game. People think DJing is like, it's like this beautiful, illustrious thing, but like the touring, the behind the scenes, the canceled flights, the bullshit you got to deal with, it's a lot, the stress, But I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. It's a beautiful thing, to be able to play music, share your music with the world. But yeah, man, the one thing that I've learned is that we're very blessed. We're very blessed to be able to do this. I think it's a beautiful thing to, say that you like literally just DJ for a living. Like that's. I mean, really, if you take a second to just kind of step back and just, it's kind of fucking insane.
Put yourself in your old coworker's shoes. They're probably like, the fuck is he doing?
Yeah, I mean, everyone in my old job thinks that I'm insane for sure, because I was there for 12 years.
Yeah.
Since I was 24 years old when I first started working in corporate America. Same job, same company.
Wow.
And, people would just kind of be like, is this guy for real? Is he really doing this? And then I just, started touring more and more and more. And then people had no idea how I would do it. I mean, even my wife had no idea how I was managing. And I was like one of like the, like a top performer, like year in, year out in sales, just a very, very disciplined person.
Would you say discipline is the number one thing you need to have as a DJ? What's the number one trait that someone needs to have to make it?
I would say you need to have a lot of discipline. You need to have short memory. Like you need to be able to like just let things go, not take things personal.
I like that.
I think one of the things that I've really been working on myself is lately in the last, I think this year is, not looking left or right and not trying to compare myself to anyone. Because, I mean, you can find yourself comparing yourself to X, Y, and Z artists every single day, all day. Oh, why is this person doing this? How is this working for this person? Maybe I should try this. Just kind of like just really just focusing on yourself and believing in what you're doing, right? Whether it works out, great. If it does, maybe if it doesn't, whatever. But at least you did something that you wanted to do. Yeah. The way you wanted to do it. And you didn't kind of, we're always, I mean, it's tough, that struggle, right? Because as an up and coming artist, you want to try different things to do whatever you can to better your career and to make it and get to that next step and get to that next party and get this festival and whatever the case may be. Sometimes you might even do a song that you didn't want to do, but it had an amazing feature with a massive artist and you thought it was gonna blow your Spotify up, but then it ended up just making you not do anything and just made it worse. It's weird. It's a very challenging thing to understand. But I think, as long as consistency, I think is very important, but discipline is definitely, one of the biggest ones because, I'm actually been trying to be, I drink here and there, but I've been trying to be as sober as possible in my shows. Just, being in Ibiza for 2.5 months, that was wild.
Yeah.
It was nuts, It was literally every single day, it was something.
Right.
It was something. Either I was playing or I would go, see the bros on their residency, and then I would leave for 2 days to play a show, and then I would come back, and then it was music on, and then every single day it was, then I would go to Elro, and then it was Sunday, and like Solomon's playing. It's like, then there's 15 afters in a villa every single day. It's like, it's nuts. But it's cool. It's a beautiful thing because you get to network and you get to meet so many people because specifically in the music that I'm doing and the lane that I'm in, being there the whole summer was a massive, massive thing for me because I met so many people and I was so visible in front of the right people.
Right.
Which I think is just as important as anything, right? Kind of we talked about earlier about the team, having a strong team, having a strong agent, obviously the music, the brand, everything's got to be on point, but a lot of networking and relationships moves mountains in this industry.
Being visible in front of the right people is the biggest thing. That's something that I've had to navigate as I grow this show. I'm like, well, who is the right crowd? And sometimes it's not like necessarily like massive artists, right? It's behind the scenes people who have the relationships with the big artists who can get them on the show, So you really have to be careful about where you're spending your time and make sure it's not wasted.
Yeah.
You have a daughter, right?
Yes.
What's her name?
Penelope.
Penelope, that's such a cute name.
Yeah.
Does she have a favorite track of yours yet? Is there one that she like perks up to?
No, she's just listening to me I'm just literally like in the studio because I just have I live in an apartment.
Yeah.
I usually work on a lot of music on my headphones, but like I'm always just, on the computer, on my MIDI, just, trying different things. So she always sees me like, she has like her own little piano. It's funny because you see her and she literally puts her posture in her hands the same way that I do. You know what I mean? Like you can just see like
they're sponges. Kids are sponges.
Yeah. So she's, she's always there, vibing with me and, but no, not one specific. I would say maybe if anything, En Su Lugar, like which is like one of like my, biggest tracks ever. Because we always play. It always comes up like when we're at like my wife's parents' house. Like the first thing my wife's parents love to do when I walk in is like put like on like one of my sets like on the TV. It's like the last thing I want to see or listen to.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I love
they
that.
love it. But yeah, she's always every time she sees me on YouTube and stuff, she's always like dancing and stuff. It's funny. So I actually brought her on stage with me in Sevilla this summer in front of like 10,000 people. It was insane.
And she was
no
stage fright. She loved it.
No. Yeah, it was cool.
You might have a future star in your hands.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Well, this has been so great. I'm so glad we finally got to do this. It's been months in the making.
Yes.
Thank you for making time.
No, thank you for having me. It was amazing. I appreciate it.
That is your weekly elevation. Malone's story proves that sometimes you have to risk it all to get it all. That transition from side hustle to full-time artist isn't just about the music. It's about building systems, supporting your community, and having the courage to bet on yourself always. Remember, success in dance music isn't about luck, it's about strategy. I will talk to you next week.